What's up, guys? Joel Evan here at the Biohacking Congress event in Las Vegas. I'm here with Phillip from LeelaQ, and let's dive into some stuff. I got to see your. First of all, for people that don't know, that you were on my podcast, the Hack Life podcast, and we talked all about LeelaQ and quantum healing, which we'll talk about today. But it was really nice. I got to see some of your presentation yesterday, and you have a lot of new and exciting things. But just to backtrack for people that don't know about what LeelaQ is and quantum healing or quantum energy, I think anytime you use the word quantum, it's always very people raise eyebrows. So maybe you could just kind of talk about what LeelaQ is, and we'll go from there. Yeah, just kind of talk about how you got here and what it is.
Yep, sounds great. Thanks for this interview and the opportunity to talk about it. Quantum energy is indeed something that can be defined in various ways. What we mean by that and what the energy is that we provide with our devices is the energy behind the matter. And I think, most of the people have at least heard of the concept, and some people may know that is a fact, that we're matter, but we're way more frequency, space, and energy than we're matter, right? 99% of us is space and not really the dense matter if you think about it. So the energy behind it, and in every cell we have a quantum energy field. That's also how the cells communicate, and that's why they can communicate instantly, constantly, and at all times in the way they do. So we have developed a technology that can imprint pure quantum energy into any object. So it's basically a concentrated field of this quantum energy, which is the same that we have in our cells. That's the amazing part about it. And we're not using any brute force, because there have been attempts in the past by other companies that used electric brute force or magnetic brute force, but those destabilize this field. And then it's almost like I would hit you in the back and you're like this, and then you do this again. And I keep doing that all the time, and then you have to readjust. And that's what happens then with this quantum field. And that adds energetic stress to the human body if you're close to that. So that's exactly not what you want. So that's not a great development. So the real deal is actually when you have that without brute force, because then it's fully harmonious with the human cells. So that's what we've developed. And out of that, a lot of possibilities arise. We work a lot with frequencies and combine that. But yeah, it's basically for three aspects. There's really a lot of benefits. That's for humans, for animals, and for plants, because all of them are living organisms, and you can positively influence all those organisms in the same way. We're going to dive into that a little bit more, but I want to say, for the ones that think, oh, this is very woo-woo, yes, absolutely, you're right. It's totally woo-woo because it hasn't been around really. It's totally cutting edge. But we have backed this all up with science, and we have a lot of hard science that we focused on, and we can dive into that because, that's where really you can see the physical results.
Yeah. I think that's one of the most fascinating things too, is because you actually are very, that it might come off woo-woo. I love this kind of stuff, and I'm all about, if I feel better, then it doesn't matter to me. I don't care about the science per se, but you're backing it up for the people that do it. That's what I think is really neat about your company and some of the things you guys are doing. Now you have, we're talking about products. I'm wearing a product right now. You have this is actually the testosterone capsule. But you have several different capsules. I have two young boys, 8 and 4, and I always throw, anytime they're sick or they're little, I'm like, you gotta put the HEAL capsule on. Make sure you put the HEAL capsule on. Make sure you sleep with it underneath your pillow. I'm always telling them. So, but maybe you could kind of just talk about your different products. Maybe we even just talk about this energy. By the way, I was at the airport. I thought about you. I was at the airport, and this guy, security guard, he was like, what is that? What do you got in there? A bullet? I'm like, no, come on, man, it's quantum energy. It's not a bullet, right? But I had to unscrew it for him and show him, there's these balls, these little spherical balls that make up, inside the capsule. So they're really nice. But yeah, you can maybe talk about the how these work, really.
Yeah. So next time at the airport, just tell them it's a nice design piece that you got from your wife, and then they'll shut up quicker. But
Yeah, the guy he totally threw me off. It was just like, come on, man, stop it. Yeah.
Yeah, but so that's one of the products with our technology that, by the way, we make available, and we'll talk about that because that's very unique that anyone can actually get this technology. But with that, we can make different products because you can imprint pure quantum energy into any object. So we can take a capsule like that and imprint pure quantum energy in it. In this case, only the spheres are charged with pure quantum energy. And in the capsule, we have the quantum energy, but together with specific frequencies. So the so-called HEAL capsule contains specific healing frequencies that activate your inner healer. What does that mean? Basically activates your self-healing powers, you could say.
These are frequencies, when you say healing frequencies, these are frequencies that have been studied and been shown like, hey, people get better when, and I'll just give an example. I'm thinking of like 528 hertz or something. Like that's a frequency that we've seen like with relaxation and like maybe theta state, or I'm not exactly sure if that's true, but that's what you're talking about. Like these are certain frequencies that have been shown to help with healing and promote healing.
That is correct. However, we're not using hertz frequencies. Those are usually sound frequencies. We can use those too. That's possible with our technology. And then there are a lot of other frequencies as well. Those are etheric frequencies right now that I'm describing. But you can study those as well. I mean, there's really no problem with that. And then there are molecular frequencies also. So in the HEAL capsule, we have these etheric healing frequencies, but also molecular frequencies of the most important vitamins and minerals and organic plant extracts for the human body. So I think it's 78 that are all included in there, and that help you basically to have those available and help your cells to take in those vitamins and minerals way better and way deeper than ever before when you take them in. And there's actually 5 to 10% of the people that don't need any of the supplements anymore because they just live off those frequencies then. Because in the end of the day, how a vitamin C pill gets into the cell, it's not the vitamin C substance that gets into the middle of the cell, it's actually just the information of the vitamin C. So in the end, it's all about information. However, it seems that not everyone is the same, and that's why we have these differences. But yeah, that's part of the HEAL capsule in that sense. And then these spheres, they help to boost out the frequencies, so we have them fully available. That's kind of how it works, and it's like a field of 2-3 meters. Also sounds woo-woo, but it works 100% all the time because it also neutralizes EMF, for example. So especially when you're flying in an airplane,
have this thing on everywhere. Yeah,
it's pretty cool because it literally helps your body that you don't have the harmful frequencies hitting you. It's almost like, usually with EMF, I'll hit you in the face and you're like, damn, I'm getting really bloody here. It hurts.
Yeah.
But then, there's now something that transforms that into a nice back massage, which is actually supporting your muscles, taking away the ache and all of that. So these are two very different ways of touching, and with the energy is the same thing. So the EMF is sort of transformed that it doesn't bother you anymore.
It's causing like an interference, kind of like blocking it, right? So that it's like dissipating maybe the EMFs from rippling through your body.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's literally like changing the impact, and because it's not blocking, so you can still be on your phone and everything, and so it's not like stopping it.
Yeah. Okay, speaking of EMF, because you had a really cool slide. For me, like, I could watch that slide over and over again. Yesterday on your presentation, you had a really great slide using a dark field microscopy, and you had a slide, I think it showed, which is an optimal human being, just someone who's like not diseased or sick in state. So just someone who's they're doing well for themselves. You had that slide. Then you had a wife, somebody who was being exposed to Wi-Fi, which was crazy, the difference. It looked just charged and like erratic and disgusting.
It was the same person, actually. It was the same person. Yeah, that's
okay,
the
same
thing.
person.
Yeah, that's the crazy stuff. Yeah.
And then the third slide showed after they had, was it your EMF clothing, or was it the...
that was the Quantum Bloc.
Okay, that was the Quantum,
so the EMF still stayed on, But then they put the hands in the quantum block, and after 10 minutes, it looked, not only it reversed all the EMF effects that were quite detrimental, but it actually was better than to begin with, before Wi-Fi was even introduced, already after 10 minutes. And and so just for people to know, so you can do a lot of like before and after pictures of dark field microscopy, and if you do that long enough, at some point you may find some good before and after pictures. So, I urge you to not, if you see that somewhere, make sure that they're real studies and not just like there's just one before and after picture, because, you can find those. But what we've actually done is we had several institutes and doctors' offices in Europe and the US run randomized sham-controlled studies that are double-blind and single-blind, which then that makes it really amazing. If you see 100% in the cases it works, and it's then backed up by statistical significance, and all the placebo effect is ruled out because you're using sham devices. And so that is indeed what has happened. And that's, since we last spoke, we actually, a lot of those studies now happened that we could validate it with statistical significance. And that is crazy, because also these EMF effects, actually, those also showed up pretty much the same with every test person. And it's crazy if you think about it, what it does to the blood, because that is the blood clotting. We hear a lot about nowadays about blood clotting and what risks come with that.
There's a specific virus that was going around that was specifically known for blood clotting and endothelial dysfunction. So wow. Imagine just having a quantum block in your house of some sort, right?
Yeah, so we try to be mindful and be, we don't talk about healing much and all that, but it is indeed, it's an amazing technology with a lot of potential. And frankly, the Dr. Rubik, who ran the two last dark field microscopy studies here in the US, she was a non-believer. She thought that our tech would not work.
This is a great story, by the way.
Yeah, and I try to summarize it maybe because, I had reached out to her after someone had sent me a podcast where she was very concerned about EMF for humanity in general, because she had done so many analyses and studies in regards to what EMF does to the blood. And she said, we need to figure out what we do. We need to either stop this or find something that helps. So someone sent me that. I reached out to her and said, okay, we may have a solution. She said, well, that's great. Let me look at it. But she didn't think it would work, because she was like, this is just an energy device. And I said, okay, so what does it take that you also say it works? She said, we need to have a gold standard study, double-blind, randomized, sham-controlled. I said, okay, let's do it. And she said, well, let's do one with 4 test persons. So I was like, well, 4 test persons, I mean, no one is going to say that that's a real study. And she said, I don't want to blow your budget. I still think it's not going to work. And I said, okay. And it worked in 100% of the cases. And she said, oh my God, this really works. And now we have to do a larger study to be able to show the statistical significance. And that all happened, in the last year and the beginning of this year. And now it has turned, because now she's telling me we have the solution for what you just described, and then for this other thing that's around that does the same stuff. Yeah. And I'm trying to put on the brakes, but it's quite fascinating. Yeah, and it works really. It's in 100% of the cases. So we can claim that now, because it's backed. It's not just 30%. That would already be kind of cool, because it has no negative effects. But 100%, that's kind of neat. Yeah.
I'm curious too, and we can talk about the different products, but I have we're talking a lot about the block right now. So, I have I have various blocks in my house. I have one upstairs and one downstairs, and I'm just thinking about this whole concept about EMFs and stuff. So how do you have your house set up with your blocks, and what are you thinking about in terms of blocking out EMFs? I have them like in places where I frequent a lot, so I just assume that. But I'm just curious, like for you, like I've been meaning to. That was one of my questions I've been meaning to ask. Like, where should I put my blocks? Like, what's the best strategy? I guess.
Yeah. So we don't need to block EMF from my perspective, because again, with the blocks you can neutralize and harmonize it, and then you don't need to really block EMF. However, there are some people that are very sensitive, or there are also some situations where you're impacted a lot and you're not in your home where you may have a block. You're in an airplane or you drive in an electric car.
I just carry my block everywhere. I'm on the bus with it. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So you could have something like this here, but we do offer some EMF protective clothing as well.
Yeah, that's
like
pretty cool.
The jacket, for example, and also some hats and caps and T-shirts. And those are made out of silver fabric that literally blocks EMF, but on top of that, it's charged with quantum energy, so you're also getting the additional benefit of that energy as well. So you can do that, but in your home, to set up the blocks, there's really nothing you can do wrong. We recommend to not have it in your bedroom in the first 2-3 weeks, because it can be a stimulating and new energy if you haven't experienced it before, and if you have it in your bedroom, it may just make you wake up way earlier as you want to.
Yeah.
But at some point you'll also be used to that. But it covers the whole home anyway. Even if you use the weakest device that we have, it covers the whole home, so you can put it almost anywhere. And I would just put it somewhere where it feels kind of like central, and that where you feel it's a good spot, or where it also looks nice, for you, or is not in the way. That's kind of what we suggest. Very simple. There's nothing you can do wrong. And just one thing to remember is, if you have 2 blocks or 3, we don't recommend more than 3 actually in a home, but they should be at least 2-3 meters apart. Just because the analogy is, if you tape us on the backs and then we have to go about our days, it'd be pretty uncomfortable pretty soon, because you can't do the stuff you want to do and I can't do my stuff. And that's almost the same with the blocks. Like, they need some space. 2-3 meters.
Yeah, and for people that don't know, the blocks are like very actually pretty and well designed. Like, they'd be a great little centerpiece or somewhere in your house. I'm very selfish, so they're if anybody watches my podcast, you'll see it. It's in my office. It's right behind every podcast episode. You can see it. Like, there it is. Somebody out here was telling me about it. Hey, I saw your quantum block. You have it right there. I'm like, yeah, that's right. Got a lot of EMFs and stuff going on in my office. So, okay. And so the other thing I'm thinking is, for people that don't know the blocks, and how they look, but you have like a block here, like a gold-plated block on the flat bottom, and then on top sits another block, and it's hollow in the inside. So how does this square-like object deliver quantum healing energy? Like, this doesn't make any sense to me. Like, how? Like, what? It's a gold block. That's what somebody's gonna say, Philip. It's a gold block. That's what it is. It's not a healing energy. What are you talking about?
Yeah. So I start with saying that we all radiate energy also, and we're not plugged in anywhere. So we don't need to be plugged in. The energy comes from somewhere else. The same with the blocks. They don't need to be plugged in, because the plates themselves are charged. And in combination of this different setup that we have, like with Infinity Block, we have 3 plates on the top with a certain distance in between them.
Yeah.
It just creates this huge field suddenly, because they work together. It's almost as if you move your hands and you feel that there's a certain energy. That's almost the same principle. It's a little bit different, of course, but yeah, it just works like that because the plates are charged.
They're charged. Okay.
And yeah, we just need to. We think everything needs to be plugged in or use a battery to actually work, but that's just really true for like physical things. If you want something to be a robot that needs to move, or a TV that needs to be plugged in, it's really not true for the source energy that's behind the matter.
I love that. One of the other things you mentioned too is when you can feel the energy. So I can verify when I put my hand in the block, because I've done it many times, and my hand like starts to tingle a little bit. Like I can feel energy. It's a different, and I've done it multiple times because I'm like, is this placebo? Am I just because I think the block's working? I've done it many times, different hands, and I can feel like energy. It's really cool. But I'm curious, and we have some examples we can talk about too. But on that note of just because we talked about, hey, if you for healing purposes, if you put your hand in there, or even with the dark microscopy, can't say that word.
You can also say live blood analysis.
Live
That's
blood
the
analysis.
other way.
Okay, thank you. That's way better. So we were talking about on that study specifically, right? The person put their hand in the block, and then we saw this change. Now, my question is, if I put my hand in the block, is it only healing this hand or sending this quantum energy here, or is it still systemic throughout my whole body?
Yep, great question. When you put it in right in that moment, it's only penetrating the hand, but very soon after, already after a few seconds, it moves everywhere. And faster if you put both hands in there at the same time. Just because the cells, again, they communicate instantly, and it's enough to just put your foot in there or both feet or both hands, and then it literally goes everywhere. And not only there, so it'll go through your whole body and physical system, but then it goes into your energetic system. And for the people that don't know, we have energy bodies as well as we have a physical body, even though we can't touch it, right? It's nevertheless there. That's also how you can call it the aura. But so you may feel at some point as you're doing that, not only that you have some tingling and energy moving up, but you may even feel like you're expanding a little bit, but you're not really expanding, it just you're filling up more, and you're starting to notice more of your complete body system, if you will.
Yeah.
And
I was thinking that because we know too, like you said, there's that radius that the block is emanating. So even if it's not directly in there, I'm still getting some type of energy. It's not just, I don't have to have an object in there.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And by the way, so we talked a lot about live blood analysis, dark field microscopy. We've done studies, or the institutes and doctors' offices have done studies with all kinds of different test methods, which includes heart rate variability, nervous system, brain function, biowell, you name it. There's just a lot of things. The Emoto Institute in Japan tested our products, and because we really wanted, to show that it works, and it's not only one method. It works with a lot of different methods, and I got tested here by the BrainTap folks. They have this testing method which includes also brain waves, stress levels, heart rate variability, and a lot of other things. And the guy said, "Damn, you got a perfect profile. This is like your energy level is at 100%. Like you can't get any higher." And that was, they wanted me to use then their device to show the difference. He's like, "Well, if you're already perfect, we can't show like any better." And I said, "Yeah, that's no wonder, because I'm around that energy all the time." And we're actually going to work with them now, because we figured, both of our technologies can actually, if you combine them, you can even maybe do more or do things faster. And I just wanted to at least mention that there's
that's awesome.
A lot of fun stuff going on.
Yeah. I was just thinking too, man. I mean, I feel so blessed. Like you said, we get to be around all these great people, and then these minds connect. But like, I haven't been. I don't know about you, and I'm just wondering. Like, I haven't been sick in like my family. Like, we've all been pretty darn healthy. I mean, do you attribute it to some of the having the blocks and stuff, and just having the capsules and the various things? I mean, it shows me, like you said. Actually, I'm curious for the dark field, the live blood analysis. How long do you know? Like, how long will that blood stay in a more optimal healed state, or does it just go back to its? Obviously, if you're surrounding yourself by Wi-Fi, we know, it's going to go back. But let's say I put my hand in the block, my blood's looking great now again. I get away from the Wi-Fi. How long do I have before? Do you know? Is there?
Yeah, so it really depends on the person and depends on the circumstances. And if you have a block at home, for example, then actually that level would pretty much stay, because even if you're out taking your hands out, that field is still in the whole home, even though not as strong. it does help your whole system and cells. So then you would actually usually keep that level quite strongly.
Okay.
And if you were to not have a block, let's say you go a mile down the street and someone has a block, you put your hands in there and then you walk back to you, probably would last at least for several hours. But then, think about it, we go about our day and we always are exposed to the 5G soup, etc. And some maybe bad food, bad air. So the stressors come
Negative
back.
emotions, stressors, right? Thoughts become a thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, it's something where you can actually all do that with your consciousness. I must say that because it's the truth. Like, you don't need our tech or anyone's tech, frankly, if you have unlocked most of your consciousness in order to do that. The problem is that most of us are not there yet, so we can use these tools, and then we're exposed to stuff like that. It's cool to use tools, use those tools in between, just because we're also exposed all the time, and then you can go about your day and not really worry about it. But one thing is important to note, because we know this concept from the pharma industry that, you take a pill and the symptoms go away, and the problem is the symptoms always come back. Our technology works in a different way. It really helps you and your system to train your system to also be more self-contained. So pretty much your cells will remember this energy, and they kind of like upgrade literally when you're around the block, and you've been around the blocks for a while, your cells and your whole energetic system will have upgraded. And if you walk through downtown, even if it's 2-3 days later, you are already in a higher vibration, and you have less problems with the stuff that's hitting you. However, you can still go further, right? Because the path is very long. Like on the consciousness ladder and on the vibration ladder, there's always some steps you can take, and that's kind of how it works, though. But you don't fall under a certain level anymore, which is good, and it's so it really helps you to train yourself.
Because you create this new optimal.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, that's really cool. I love how you broke that down. It's something else that I learned at the conference and I hadn't thought about, and I've heard you talk about this before in a different way, but people who have experienced your tech were talking about like putting objects, like a photo of, like, let's say I put my own personal photo in there, and then can you kind of explain it, like walk into another room and you can feel the energy? Like, wait, what?
Yeah.
I can't wait till I get home, by the way, to try this trick. So, but yeah, can you kind of break that down?
Yes, and of course, for everyone now, this is totally woo-woo, okay? So,
we're going woo-woo on this one because, Phillip, if you want to see the first episode, we break down the tech a lot, and we go into this. This episode's going to be a little bit more deeper, I think. So we've already gone there. Woo-woo, check out the first episode on the Hack Life, and then now we're going another level.
Yep, but it doesn't stay at the woo-woo, of course, because we do have the science also for this. And so, quantum entanglement is not a new concept. It has been proven in labs multiple times that it works, but also for our tech specifically, it's the first tech that you can use at home yourself that uses quantum entanglement. And so if you have this block, it's like 8 by 8 inches, 8 by 8 by 8 inches, and if you put a picture of, let's say, Joel inside, and he can be 10,000 miles away, he would then still have the energy field available to him. He can feel it, and you can measure it. So you can do biosystem analysis, and that study was already done actually about a year ago and proved that is working. And because you would be tested, then the picture of you would be put into the block, and you wouldn't know when that happens or if that even happens, and it happens like miles away, and then your measurements are completely different and fully optimized after that. But now we've actually done this with a double-blind study with live blood analysis, because that goes even deeper, because that's really crazy. It's really physical. You can literally, as soon as the picture goes in, you can see on the video how the blood cells start to restructure and to reorganize and move into this optimal state. You can see how the white blood cell activity and motility, which is directly linked to the immune system, increases, and things like that. And if you then take a picture after 10, 15 minutes, it's suddenly an amazing, significant result. And again, this has been proven by double-blind study, and then that's significant. And that result actually just came out a few days ago, and the head of the institute in Austria called me, and he almost had tears in his eyes because he knew it worked and everything, and they had done lots of testing, but and they're using the technology for themselves. But to actually see the blood change, and the testing was done 200 kilometers away,
Wow.
literally, and no one knew it was happening. It's something amazing, to see and witness that. So it indeed works. Yeah.
It's so neat, and we talk about this all the time. Like the transfer of energy is just instantaneous, right? Like energy just. I just started recently getting into like muscle testing, and practitioners will meet with you via Zoom across they could be in New York, I could be in California, and then people say, well, how does that work? How am I getting these results from these muscle testers or whatever? And it's just energy, right? It's just energy is being transferred. So it's kind of the same thing. But the interesting thing about the block is, like, yes, it's a transfer of energy, but it's like you're altering that energy in a really powerful way.
Yes, it's an absolutely supportive energy. That's the thing. And some people, you're like, oh, this is maybe difficult to understand, but some things you've probably noticed already. If you have a spouse, and that spouse is traveling and has a car accident, you probably feel something. At least the women would feel it usually if something happens to the man. Sometimes the other way around. It's men don't feel as much usually.
Yes.
They have to work harder to do that, but something is up. Or you have your kid, and something happens with the kid, and you're like, something is up, I need to reach out or look after them. That's the same thing, and it doesn't matter where they are. There's this connection, because it's all in the field. That's the thing, and time and distance doesn't really matter. And then so the interesting thing is just that we have now this concentrated field where you can do these things and tap into that potential.
Yeah. That is so cool. I didn't know that study came out. That's amazing, man. You're doing so many cool things.
It's not published yet. Literally, I got that phone call, and they're still working on finishing it all up and writing it all down, but probably in the next 30 days, we'll be able to publish it. Yeah.
Insane. One other thing about the blocks, too, is I've seen you talk about this, and I still don't quite understand it, but like you were telling me, I think on our first podcast, you can put like food or objects in there. Like I could put an orange in there, for example. Why would I do that, though? Why would I put an orange in the block before I eat it, or why would people do that?
Multiple reasons. Herbicides and pesticides are being used quite a bit, so you can neutralize those frequencies, and you can optimize the structure of the orange. Like you can optimize the structure of water, and especially fruits and vegetables contain a lot of water, so you can optimize that. And for people that are interested, look at the Emoto results that are on our website. The Emoto Institute in Japan is probably the most known in the world to look at water and how that can change. And they've been actually so impressed with the technology that they're wanting to bring it to Japan now exclusively. They haven't done that with any other technology before.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm. Okay. Wow. Okay, that's cool. I use it to structure my water all the time. I'm always throwing it in my water. The other day I was texting our good friend Todd because I was bothering him. I'm like, hey, do I have to get it? Because I have a jug of water, so sometimes if I don't transfer it, I can't fit it in there. I'm like, can I just leave it on the outside? And he's like, yeah, it'll just take a little bit longer, but it'll still structure it. Okay, perfect.
Well, you should actually, it'll do something, but if you really want the full results, it needs to go inside. Okay,
never mind. Moral of the story: don't listen to Todd. I'll reach to you. I just happened to be texting him, so I was like, "Hey."
It'll do something.
Okay.
Though. Yeah.
And then so I think last time we chatted, you have these really neat cards.
Yep.
Like and one of the ones I think is really fascinating is the DNA one. Like that one, I just think is for what it can do, right? And
looks like this here.
Yeah, it's like healing card. What do you call them? Because I don't.
We call them frequency cards.
Yep. You can't say that you're healing. So frequency cards. We got the block, and and then we've got the capsules. Now it seems like something newer that you've been doing is the clothing. Is that? I mean, I know when last time we talked, some of the clothing was just rolling out, but that seems like it's a little bit newer. Is there anything else that's new and coming out, or anything else that you can talk about, or?
Yeah, so the Quantum Jacket was the newest thing that we launched in the fall, and we have a new water bottle coming out because we have water bottles too, so you can put your water in and it structures it.
How long does it take to structure?
Well, it takes only like a minute to do something really visible, but it takes about, we say 20 minutes to have optimal results. So we have a new one coming out, and then we will introduce a travel block, which is
cool.
a small
so
quantum
I can go
block.
on the bus with it.
Literally, you can, women that tested it, have it in their purse, and you can literally travel, put it in your car, and you can go to dinner in a restaurant and just put it on the table, and then they would literally like charge their food or put their water glass in and stuff like that. It's kind of cool. I didn't think we really need it, but people told me otherwise, that customers actually requested it and said, this is something we want. So we're doing that, and then we come up with a few new frequency cards actually. So there's one. One is, there are three we're working on. One for pain, one for inflammation, including like arthritis inflammation, and then the third one that was actually developed also because of customers that asked, because of ADHD. We had a lot of people that came to us and said, for ADHD, do you have something? And then we developed something and we tested it with them, and then it worked fantastic. And then they asked us, can you roll it out now?
Yeah, of course.
And then we had so much to do. And then we actually worked on refining that and found a way it's called the focus frequency card. It not only works for ADHD, and we included really the focus aspect, which if you have Alzheimer and something like that, you may see a benefit with that as well, because what it does, it signals to the body exactly this type to get into focus, to activate certain parts of the body and the brain to be more focused, and so that will come out probably in the next 30 days, I would say. Yeah, that's a fun one, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. That's going to be a game changer. And we had talked about that on our podcast too. I asked you because I always think about that because of my kids, and I'm always really interested in how the children can benefit like that. And you were, even back then, you actually have a good, I don't know if it was a study, but it was just anecdotally with kids with autism. I know that they were using the blocks, and
yes,
people were seeing results from that. I don't know if that was an actual study or just the doctors were coming back telling you like, hey, we've been seeing it. So it's really cool, all the stuff you're doing.
Yeah, so at the time that may have been indeed anecdotal, but it turned into a real clinical study that has been going on for 6 months now in India. So there's a functional medicine clinic that exclusively works with autistic kids. They have about 40 kids enrolling each month into their programs. And they started this clinical study. So we just provided the products and the support, and after 3 months already, the results were 70% of the kids had significant improvements, and 30% of the kids had improvements, which is quite fascinating. And that was in relation to speech and bowel movement, attention span, and just a couple other things. So that's quite nice, and we support these kids also, so we created even specific frequency capsules for them and sent them all for free. We really are a conscious business, and we try to do these things. So the money that we make, we put into research, because we want to just help with more discovery of that, and we plant a tree for every order. We support these kids in India, and so and actually here we've been talking about what can we do to help heal some of the rivers and lakes and oceans with the technology. What are the things that we can do? So there's a lot of potential, and that's what keeps us up, because if we can
you're trying to heal the rivers now. You've already healed. You started healing the people. Let's move bigger. You're going on to the rivers.
Yeah, because if you think about it, we have a a lot of pollution. We have just a lot of bad states, and if certainly there's certain chemical aspects that we may not be able to take care of, but we do know that our technology can structure water and optimize water in many different ways and bring life back to it, if you will.
Yeah.
So if we can do it, we can take a whole 5-gallon tank or a 10-gallon tank. We can theoretically also do that in a much larger area, and that has nothing to do with business. That has really to do with what can we contribute to just a better world.
Yeah, very cool. I'm curious on that note though about structuring water. I do it all the time because you tell me to, and I see all the studies, the Emoto. I see all the research and stuff. But I was thinking about this the other day. Why? Yeah, you structure the water, great. Then I drink the water. But doesn't my body at some point just do whatever it needs to do it? Or is there a difference when the body actually intakes that structured water? I could understand, hey, being around the healing capsule or an actual block, because that, like you said, is the entanglement. There's an organization that it's probably helping organize my electrons, and I'm just in a better field. Yeah. But I'm thinking, okay, big deal. I was thinking about the other day, I'm like, it's water, it's structured. It has more. What would you say to that? It has more energy, or why?
So a few things. So if you take regular tap water as an example, it's full of fluoride and other things that you don't really want, and it's usually water that's not really alive. It's kind of like dead water.
Yeah.
And it's something that your cells can't really do much with. Yes, you drink it and all of that, but you may not really hydrate. You keep drinking but you're not really taking it in. It doesn't help your cells really. And if you have water that's more free of these substances and harmful frequencies, and water that is actually structured so that your cells can work with it, you instantly feel that you hydrate much more, and it's fuel you take in. It's almost, the analogy would be, you're at a gas station and you put gas right in the tank, and then you can really leverage it, versus putting some in the trunk and some in the tank, and then only the one in the tank you can use. Right. So
okay. Beautiful explanation. And we didn't need Ian Mitchell here, the ghetto scientist, as he likes to refer to himself, the creator of C60 and all the other good stuff, to explain it. That was actually really good, because he has a lot of good analogies. All right, this was awesome. I'm ready to wrap it up, but before we do, anything that comes to mind, anything that you wish I had asked you that I didn't?
No, I can just say, hey, if you're interested in this topic, find us on Telegram, because we have a private user group, and it has grown to 4,000 people now. But you can't really search it on Telegram because it's a private group. So we'll make the link available here in the video description, and just check it out. And you have lots of users there that you can ask questions or just listen.
Yeah, I get notifications every other minute. I had to finally turn it off because I was getting so many people they're very active there, so it's a really good group. Actually.
Yeah, and then if you hear from me, that's one thing. I'm the founder of it, and I'm very passionate, obviously. But you can hear from thousands of users and what they tell you about the products and experiences, and then that's the one aspect of it. The other aspect is that there's so much to discover and explore.
Yeah.
And we love this community because we're part of it, and there's something new every week that some people discover. How they charge the seeds of the plants and how that helps, and all these things, or the autistic stuff also happened through the group. Someone was discovering this, and then another one was discovering it, and when we heard enough of it, we said, okay, now we're going to facilitate a study. So it's really like a group effort, if you will, and it's kind of fun. Yeah.
Well, you're out there, you're changing the world, man, and you're like really just a game changer. You're really making an impact. So thank you. Last but not least, I know you mentioned the Telegram group, but you want to just kind of tell everybody else where they can find your website and just any of the other cool research you're doing. By the way, I love the research. I do love it because my wife sees me with all these new gadgets and stuff, and she's like, what does that mean, Joel? And where's the science? And like, what research did you do? just point right here. So thank you. Now my wife's satisfied.
Yeah,
But yeah,
absolutely.
where can they find you other than on Telegram?
Yeah, so in the Telegram group, you even find me because I answer questions too. So you can click on my icon. You can even send me a private message. But then, of course, we have a website, LeelaQ.com, LeelaQ.com. So
Boom. There you go. Phillip from LeelaQ. Thanks, guys.
thank you.